to the hay, all your sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Rack Highlights here on Talk Radio version of the OMSR. I'm your brief but very concise host, Will, the alternate ESPN Sports Thrill. Always do a little show like this, let you know the clip order coming up and the whys to wherefores. Always good to know what you're getting into. So this is done in 4 parts, combined by the OMSR sponsor being the DMCA. Take it from the herd with Colin, who was focusing on, what everybody's talking about, talking point wise, coming out over the weekend. Mr. Sterling tarnishing the hell out of his mouth. Indeed. Part 1, focusing on, it's been a recurring pattern of behavior for him in the past. Mostly focus on that. Part 2, Steve Stouts. Love that guy. African American, big wig, very well spoken, got insight into the issue. Big time sponsors are already bailing. Part 3, Larry King calls in. Very interesting. It talks about a personal insider view, how a man who should have a lot more genuine friends, not just because of his money, has none. Big surprise there. And then an interesting article read on how a lot of these other owners might not necessarily chime in because of how they made their money and what they've done with it. That's good stuff there. And then part 4, NAACP, Gal runs the division in California, explains how did he get a lifetime award on behalf of that organization. Quickie Sport Rant's going to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, add a little levity to the situation. He's made things so bad. Everything he's touched tarnished. He's tarnished his mouth. So what are we supposed to call Sterling Silver now? Roll clips.
And fairly succinct, I don't know Donald Sterling. Larry King does. Joining us in the herd on ESPN Radio, Larry. I imagine you have run from time to time with famous people in Los Angeles. How well do you know Donald Sterling?
Well, I know him over the years. I've been to parties at his house. I've sat with him at a few games. He is one of the least liked people. You have to say this publicly. This is shocking, but not that shocking. I've never heard him say racial things in front of me, but I heard innuendo in front of me. Nobody I know likes him. I don't know if he has a friend. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody. He's terrible. His wife is a friend of my wife's, and she's always distraught. He's always got a girlfriend at the games, and he's not the nicest person in the world. He never sells anything. He's supposed to be extraordinarily cheap. I mean, to the point of ridiculousness. I'm sad about this whole thing, but one thing I would say that you mentioned of boycotting, I think my kids go to most of their games, and they have 4 tickets for tomorrow night. The problem I have with it is in buying those tickets, I am giving money to Donald Sterling. Players' contracts are locked in, so this money is going to Donald Sterling. If they buy popcorn, it's going to Donald Sterling, or a Frankfurter, it's going to Donald Sterling. So I don't see it so much as a boycott as a statement. They're making a statement. They've sold out every game now, I think 180 games in a row. They're an extraordinarily successful franchise. They might be worth $1 billion. Might be. With the players they have in the contracts, they could be worth that. So imagine if there were 8,000 people there tomorrow night. That's a statement. Supposing they did sell out, but everyone wore black. So that people get a chance as an individual to make a statement about something that's abominable to them, that they hate.
Yeah.
So how do they make a statement?
No, I think that, Larry, I think that's interesting. Instead of boycotting, which could punish the actual players who are there, I love what the Clipper players did, where they put their warm-ups at center court, they reversed their jerseys, and they wore black armbands. That, to me, wasn't a protest. It was a statement, and I thought it was incredibly cool.
Right, so what if every fan wore black? No one wears red. You don't wear a Clipper shirt, because that's money to Donald Sterling, but you wear black. And when you said make all the players free agents, then you're really hurting the fans. Not only are you taking the team away from, let's take Chris Paul away. And this town loves Chris Paul, and Chris Paul loves this town, so why make him a free agent? I mean, that's really punishing the fans. I don't know, do you know the bylaws of the league?
There is a bylaw 35. I read this yesterday, Larry. Apparently they are not public, but the commissioner does have more power than maybe a guy like me is led to believe, or the media. There is a bylaw in which they can make fairly radical moves as a commissioner. Would you call it a statement or a boycott what Dodger fans did to Frank McCourt?
It was a statement, but what Selig did was bring in a guy, and for a period of 3 weeks, McCourt couldn't go to his office, and they went through all the books of the team. And then eventually, literally, forced McCourt to sell. As it turns out, McCourt got out of it real good, and the fans are very mad because it turns out McCourt got a lot more money and a piece of the parking. And there was extreme distaste. But Frank McCourt, as bad as he was, is not in this league. I mean, this Don Sterling, that is over the top. That's way over the top. Now, you remember that Kuhn canceled trades. They suspended George Steinbrenner for a year in baseball. He gave illegal money to Richard Nixon. Marge Schott, what did they do to her?
Basically suspended her indefinitely, and then she sold.
Right, and they didn't have her on tape.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Could Donald Sterling, if he went to a party in a diverse city, an entertainment city like Los Angeles today, would he be threatened physically if Donald Sterling was seen in public?
Probably. I am told that they're planning on having a lot of extra police there tomorrow night as they expect some problems. Is it true? I don't know. This is a rumor that Jackson's coming and Sharpton's coming as a statement, to make a statement of protest. Something like that. Donald Sterling, it's so sad this happens right in the middle of playoffs. He can't go out in public.
Yeah.
He couldn't go into a restaurant today in Los Angeles. He couldn't walk on the street. Now, I don't know if he knows, he's so firmly set in his ways. Now, I don't know what Don Sterling would do. And I know he does not want to give up that team. Because he never sold, Donald, he has never, Colin, sold anything.
Yes.
Never sold a building. Never sold a building. He owns the most property in commercial property in Los Angeles, and a good deal of Vegas, too. He's a terrible owner of property. You wouldn't want to rent from him if you have a Korean person staying over.
Yeah, no, I've read that. It's just, it's so institutional. I mean, I listen to the stuff on Deadspin. I listen to the stuff on TMZ. It is so awkward. It's so institutional. It's so embedded. It's so grotesque. It's so soulless. It's hard. It just doesn't even sound like any human being could say that in 2014. I got a few emails in regards to what Chris Broussard said about owners, because we asked the question, how come owners are not coming out and blasting Donald Sterling, the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, for recorded and now documented racial remarks? And, Broussard came out and said, a lot of these rich guys, these billionaires, they have crazy lifestyles themselves. Maybe not to that level of being inappropriate, but being inappropriate in other matters, in other areas, and they don't want to put themselves in a position to be able to lose their franchise. I would lead you from that into a very interesting article this weekend by Dave D'Alessandro of NewJersey.com. I'm going to read this. It'll take 2 minutes. It's fascinating. Adam Silver, new commish, has a parade of laudable business partners that he inherited from his morally ambiguous predecessor, David Stern. Adam's new NBA commish has suddenly become a business partner in Washington with a guy who doesn't know the difference between a tax code and class warfare, who bribes bloggers, slugs fans, bulldozes the neighboring Chinatown population into Virginia so we can put up more Hooters, and asserts that we should all be grateful for the privilege of subsidizing his team. Adam Silver has a business partner in Orlando who is so righteous he's poured millions into anti-gay marriage initiatives because, quote, gays keep asking for favors and special treatment, and, quote, marriage is not vital to them, in my opinion. He has a business partner in Cleveland that made billions in the mortgage business, many of them by passing subprime loans along to the ultimate thieves countrywide, which greased the derivative machine that helped destroy the global economy. Adam Silver has another owner/business partner in Oklahoma City who made his billions through fracking, which has been linked to everything from toxic drinking water to earthquakes to climate change, and then screwed landowners out of their royalties when business went bad. He has a business partner in Brooklyn who's an oligarch, that special kind of patriot who uses political connections to grab billions in state-owned assets for micro pennies on the dollar, leaving much of the population to starve in the cesspool left behind. Oh yeah, and he's got a business partner in Los Angeles who is a slumlord that referred to rent to minorities because they are, quote, not desirable tenants. And they smell and attract vermin, sit around and drink all day, leading to a humongous settlement of a federal housing lawsuit.
A sports fan, and I listen to this, but I think this goes way beyond sports. It goes beyond anything else. That we want to dig into every aspect of every person's life.
No, we don't, Bill, that's not true, Bill, that's not true. Jerry Jones is wild. We don't dig with Jerry Jones. A lot of these, by the way, I happen to have a pretty close friend of a friend, Jerry Jones of the Cowboys. He is doing all sorts of crazy stuff. We don't dig at all. But we do dig, Bill, with institutional racism. Oppressing others. Jerry Jones doesn't do that. We don't dig. That's a myth. We really don't dig with Donald Trump. Donald Trump puts himself out there. We don't dig. The media overwhelmingly doesn't care about your private life. But when tapes are available to media outlets that are nationally, institutionally relevant, politically relevant, legislatively relevant, we're going to air them and discuss them. There's no digging here by the news media. We were furnished tapes.
All right, so some good stuff there. If you're watching part 3, awesome. If not, I really recommend you come back and listen to the article read to Colin. He gives credit to the guy who authored it, put it together. By the way, this total promotion of The Herd. I wholeheartedly recommend, if you can, you listen to the whole deal. If not, you come to the OMSR, try to take the best sound bites, put together a nice little vignette. So, quickie sport rant. All right, sterling silver. You've all heard of that. All your jewelry, antiques in the house. It's an alloy. Pure silver is too soft. It goes back to Norman times. The word's Old English, in the 1100s, when the Normans were changing out a lot of coinage, apparently. So, the dude is like, put such a bad image on his surname and whatever other term sounds the same. People's last names can sound like other things, right? Multiple meanings to a word. I guess we'll just have to call it silver now. As a guy who wears only silver, I'll think of something creative, but I'm running short on time here. A more serious sport rant is with the magic reaction. I talk about etymology of some of these anachronistic terms can maybe help to perpetuate these stereotypes still. And I introduce more correct and to the point terms to consider. So check that one out when you got time. Magic Johnson reaction. All the video highlights courtesy to ESPN, and as mentioned, The Herd with Colin, everything else to the OMSR. That's it. Thanks for watching. Those silly DUIs while you're out there celebrating your sport of choice. As always, I like to remind you about that. Sports and alcohol, they are joined at the hip. We're later out of here.